Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about the new Crane M2 gimbal and setting it up with the Rx100 Mark 7 camera. Getting this connected can be a little bit fiddly. There's also a few little gotchas with it. So what I'm going to do in this video is just explain to you how to set it up using the smartphone with the ZY, the Zhiyun Play app, the actual gimbal itself, and the settings that you'll need to make on the Rx100 to get this connected so that you can use the record button and also the zoom button on the side of the gimbal. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the Rx100 on. We're going to head over to the menu options, and then under the Network 1 tab we're going to locate the Control with Smartphone option. So we're going to press the center button to go into that, and then we need to make sure that the Control with Smartphone option is selected on. Now if it's your first time doing this, you're going to need to drop down one to the connection, press the center button. So this will then bring up this Q code which you can scan with the ZY Play app to connect the app and the gimbal and the camera together. Once we've got that going, we're going to power up the Crane M2 just by holding up the slide button on the right. And once that powers up, we can then select the menu option on the right hand side and come down to the Wi-Fi option. And at the moment you can see that the info is completely blank. Now this is where we need to have the connection between the devices linked up. Now if you've done this before, hitting the menu button, you can come down to history and then select, I see at the top, it should actually connect to the camera straight away without using the ZY Play app. Now if you haven't connected it before, you're going to have to use the ZY Play app to actually connect all three together. So this is going to time out, as you can see with the X on there. So in this case we're going to need to use the ZY Play app, as I say, to take this and connect it. So we're going to bring up the ZY Play app. This is on Android, and at the top here you've got the option to select whether it's for smartphones. So they've changed the app from the previous one on here. That will bring up the list of the smartphone ones. What we need to do is scroll to the right, and as it comes up it's Crane M2. If you don't see it here, you can come up to the top left here, select Crane M2 from the menu. Now if we turn the camera back on again, and we go back to the menu where we were, Control with Smartphone, just to bring up the connection again, to put that on. We're going to do connect now. This is going to go and do a search for the camera. Now this has picked it up because I've already installed it once before, and if this doesn't come up, you get the option then to use the camera from the phone to take a scan of the image that we showed under the connection tab here, and then once that does it, it will automatically scan it in. So once it's selected, it will enter now, and then select the device type. So we want to use the camera, so we'll select OK on that, and now that has connected through to the phone, the camera and the actual gimbal itself, and you can see that with the little indications up on the gimbal as well. So if we come back in now to the menu system, come down to the Wi-Fi option, you'll see now it's picked up the Sony camera through to there. Now you can actually use the app on here to actually record, and it will also adjust the gimbal. You can't see it just out of screen on here. I haven't got the camera on the gimbal just to make this demonstration a little bit easier. But you'll also notice now that if we come back to the main menu and click the red button, it works with record, and if we press it again, it cancels the record. And we've also got the option to use the zoom function on the left hand side here, as you can see just up in the top here. That's zooming backwards and forwards pitfalls. That's unfortunately the only two options with the Crane M2 that you actually get, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to do a tutorial on the Weeble Lab, which actually lets you control the aperture, shutter speed and also the ISO on there, which makes it slightly better than this, but obviously it's a bigger gimbal and it's going to take a bit more room in your bag if you haven't got it, whereas this is a nice and compact unit. So that's pretty much it. The next time you come back, you don't need to run through the app itself. You can just come straight back in and select menu, come down to history, and then you can pick the direct, in this case, option, which is for this camera, and it will automatically reconnect it back for you. Now I have had a bit of issue with this because I've come back in and it doesn't reconnect. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to reconnect it if that is the case, and then I will show you one of the pitfalls with having this gimbal connected it to the camera from a face eye detection point of view. Okay, so we're going to pretend now that the camera's on the gimbal. We want to fire it up for the first time. So we're going to turn the camera on, put it in the video mode, and then we're going to use the push button slider on the left on the gimbal to fire that up until it comes on. Now what you should be able to do is come straight back down to history, select the camera. The top one is for the GoPro, which I've got set up, and that should then go straight into it. Now I've had issues with this where it's not going straight in, it's timing out, which will be indicated by a little cross up here on the screen. So there we go, so there's the cross that's come up, so that hasn't connected. So then you get a bit stumped with it now and you think, well, what do I do? So the quickest way to do this is to come back to the network one again, come down to the control with smartphone option. Firstly, make sure it's turned on, but then if you come down to connection and just click, it goes Wi-Fi standby, and then just give it a second. That screen then goes blank, and then if we come back into the Wi-Fi, you'll see that it's connected. So that's a little workaround on there if you don't get it connected straight away on there. What I'd like to do now is just show you one of the pitfalls with this connected, and it stumped me for a little while because I couldn't work out why I wasn't getting face detect in the 4K mode. So if I show you on the camera here, display, you'll notice that the autofocus face detection is off. Now if you come into the camera mode, into the menu system, and then we zoom all the way back to, so we come back to the face eye autofocus setting, you'll notice that it's off, and if we click on that, it says you can't use it in 4K. Now if you put it in HD, it works absolutely fine, but in 4K it doesn't allow you, and I'm not quite sure why, and why Sony have disabled it, so maybe you can put in the comments if you know the reason why. And it took me a little while to work out this option, and it is purely down to the fact that we have got over in the network 1 setting is we've got control with smartphone selected on. Now if I take that off and we come out of the menu without changing anything else, you'll notice that the auto focus tracking has come back on. So I don't know why it doesn't work with 4K. It does work with HD, and it took me a little while to work out why that did. So that's pretty much it from this tutorial. If you're interested in how to set up the Rx100 Mark 7 with the Weeble Lab gimbal, I'll put a link up here so you can follow that through as well. Now with the Weeble Lab you get a little bit more functionality with it. You're able to control the ISO, the f-stop, and also the shutter speed directly from the actual gimbal itself, which works quite nicely. Obviously the gimbal's a lot bigger, so it's not as compact as the Crane M2 gimbal itself. That's it from this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure doing it for you, and I hope you found it useful, save you going through some of the pitfalls that I struggled with getting this set up. So that's about it from me. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch up with you very soon.